Well, good morning, Zimbabwe. My name is Anias Maposa. Today on Pamchana News, we're interviewing the firebrand and innovative and progressive leader of Transform Zimbabwe, Mr. Jacob Ngaruvume. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for granting us this interview.
Sure.
Yes. If we can start, can you tell us a bit more about who is Jacob Ngaruvume, from where you were born, your family, the community you grew up in?
Sure. Thank you very much. I was born and raised in Bikita district of Masvingo. But we originally come from Chimanimani. That's where our family comes from. But of course, they later moved to Bikita, where I was born and raised. I was educated in Bikita initially for my primary education. Then I had to go to Mutare for my secondary level education, before I came to the University of Zimbabwe, where I did my university studies. And of course, I come from a very big family. My father is a retired bus driver. We are over 20 children by my father. And of course, God has also blessed me with my own family. I've got a wife and 3 children. And I would say, in a nutshell, that's all in summary about me.
Okay.
Sure.
As this information is going into the public domain, I just want to probe a bit further so that people can get to better understand you. We want to know which schools did you go to in specific, what year you went, which primary school you went to, which year and which school for your secondary education.
Good. I did my primary at Mandadzaka Primary School in Bikita. I love the school. I remember clearly my grade 1 at that school in 1985.
Okay.
Right, and then for my Form 1, I was at St. Joseph's Secondary in Mutare for Form 1 to 4. That's where I went to. And then for my A-level, I was at Sakuva Secondary School. And then I came to the University of Zimbabwe. I mean, I love my former schools. I love St. Joseph's. You know, we're pioneers at that school. I left the school before they had A-level. If they had A-level, I would have actually gone for my A-level there. I was so much in love with that school.
All right.
Yeah.
So where did you do your A-level studies?
Sakuva Secondary.
What subjects did you study?
Mathematics, physics, and chemistry.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've always been a mathematics student.
Okay.
So I've just been doing mathematics ever since then.
Okay.
Sure.
And it was interesting to find out, as we were preparing this interview, that we found out that you're a pastor. And we wanted to find out, when did you get your calling as a pastor?
Right. In fact, I would say to you, I'm not a pastor per se.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a Christian, a very devout Christian for that matter.
Okay.
But I didn't go to Bible school. I don't lead a church. But I'm just, in fact, I'm a congregant. I go to church very much, and I'm a member of the Apostolic Faith Mission in Zimbabwe, AFM in Zimbabwe. That's the church I go to. And I don't do pastoral services.
Okay.
I think the confusion which makes people feel that I'm a pastor is because of the work I've done in Prayer Network Zimbabwe, where I led the interdenominational grouping to pray for the nation. And I did that responsibility a lot, but not necessarily as a pastor, but as a Christian. And to that level, some people feel that I'm a pastor, when in fact I'm not a pastor per se.
Right.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so how then did you decide to be in politics?
To me, politics is a national responsibility and a national calling. It's up to every Zimbabwean to stand up and express themselves in terms of what they think about the nation and and how they want to be governed as a people. And I've had a strong passion about how Zimbabwe needs to be governed. But of course, being a Christian, I was quite hesitant to get involved in the politics of our nation. up until I had this strong conviction in myself that we have to do it as Christians, as ordinary Zimbabweans, and as Zimbabweans in general. We need to do something about our situation, and that drive really pushed me into getting involved full-time in politics like I'm now doing.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. And as we were preparing for this interview, so we found out that we just need you to confirm or refute that that you formed the first MDC chapter at University of Zimbabwe in 1999.
Yes, that is true. In 1999, when the MDC was formed, I was the first MDC UZ branch chairperson, this comes from the fact that when I was a student, I was very active in terms of political engagements and also how we felt Zimbabwe should be governed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a passion I've had, and this is to me it's a commitment and a responsibility. Mm-hmm. So when the MDC was formed in 1999, I was quite a key driving factor and a key leader way back then, and so I had to lead the university branch and also subsequently other branches for colleges and students unions across the country. So yes, I did take that responsibility in 1999.
Okay,
sure.
Did you progress within the ranks of MDC after you finished your studies, or you?
I mostly worked in Harare Central then, and when I was a student, that's when I was very much engaged in the leadership. But I have always been a pro-democracy or a fighter for democracy. Mm-hmm. So most of my engagements were really to promote and build democratic space. Mm-hmm. So that's what I continued to do in my life and career. I had not made a commitment into full-time politics then, but to be useful and relevant to the processes that are happening in our country, and that's how I was working. Mm-hmm. So I was not aiming at climbing up any political ladder. I was not at all interested. I was only focusing on working to open up democratic space, defend people's rights, which is one of the things I've done a lot, to say how do you defend the people who are vulnerable? Mm-hmm. How do you make sure that they have enough peace and sufficient peace for them to vote freely and elect leaders of their choice? So that's what I was doing. And in doing that, I was not focusing necessarily on growing or developing my political career or anything. That was what I wanted. Okay. And that's what I did.
Okay, so can you tell us then how then was Transform Zimbabwe formed? Yes. How did it come to being?
Yes. So as I was working and doing all that, we established an organization called the Voice for Democracy, whose mandate and aim was mostly to fight for justice and democracy. We felt that there was need for justice to be respected in this country. We needed justice to be delivered onto the doorsteps of those who have committed heinous crimes against the people of Zimbabwe. And we also felt that justice was necessary to serve as a reminder to everybody that the rule of law needs to be respected. So we're pushing for that in the Voice for Democracy. And then in that process, we also realized that there was a gap in the nation. One of the key things we lacked as a people is a strong value system to push the nation forward. And we then identified people from different church groups coming together. We converged and established an organization called the Prayer Network Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. And what PNZ was doing is we were praying for the nation, praying for the raising of leaders who fear God, and also a leadership which is responsible. They may not necessarily be Christians, but we are looking at a core and common value system for the nation. And in that process, this is where that work grew and developed, in Prayer Network Zimbabwe and also the Voice for Democracy. And then we had a joint convention at the close of 2013, which then decided how were we going to achieve the objectives we're pushing for in the Voice for Democracy and in Prayer Network Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. And the decision was reached that we form a political party. That's when I actually became a fully fledged political leader, because then I was elected to be president of the political party Transform Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. So that's how Transform Zimbabwe then was birthed, and then that's how also I was ushered into full-time political engagement.
Okay.
Yes.
And when was Voice for Democracy established?
We established the Voice for Democracy in 2010. if I'm not mistaken, Sean.
All right. And how does Prayer Network Zimbabwe relate with Transform Zimbabwe?
Transform Zimbabwe was birthed out of the Prayer Network Zimbabwe movement and the Voice for Democracy, of course. So it's just a very I was the first chairperson of Prayer Network Zimbabwe. Most of the leaders we had in Prayer Network Zimbabwe moved to Transform Zimbabwe, but we also have leaders who remained within Prayer Network Zimbabwe. And Prayer Network Zimbabwe is running independent of Transform Zimbabwe. But as Transform Zimbabwe, we respect a lot the Prayer Network Zimbabwe institution. Mm-hmm. So we participate in PNZ activities. We do a lot in their demonstrations which they held recently. We were part of those, and also in other initiatives and activities that are coming from Prayer Network Zimbabwe. We participate because this is where we came from, and we also understand that the work and role that Prayer Network Zimbabwe was playing in galvanizing Christians to say something about their situation and about Zimbabwe is very important. It's actually very important and critical, and so we are continuing to push for that within our way of operating as Transform Zimbabwe. So we absolutely relate with them very well and are very supportive of their initiatives.
Okay.
Sure.
And I understand that Transform Zimbabwe is standing in for the voice of the church in NERA. Mm-hmm. And how are you working with other church organizations in terms of voter education?
Yeah, it's critical that we work with other church organizations. You know, we understand more than 80% of Zimbabweans are Christian. And it's very important to galvanize the Christian vote. And so we participate in all initiatives that try to bring Christians together. We do that a lot. Currently, there's a program which is being organized by ZDD, Zimbabwe Divine Destiny, and where they are going to launch their Christian vote or their Christian voice program. And as Transform Zimbabwe, we are part of that. We are mobilizing people or Christian leaders as well as our Christian members to be part of that, to promote the Christian voice or the Christian vote. And so we participate in a number of these programs that come as a result of the Christian initiatives. And this is what we also, like the Christian vote, it's also talking about electoral reform, it's talking about the voter education, it's talking about all these key reforms which we are talking about in NERA. So this is how then we incorporate other voices and other initiatives from elsewhere, so that we all come up with a common position, or we all are fighting for one thing, which is, like, for instance, electoral reform. So it need not be political parties only, but all these other initiatives, they are also talking about the same thing, and we're coming together, we're converging as far as that is concerned.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. And I understand that NERA is a gathering way of political parties who are calling for electoral reforms. Mm-hmm. And what are you going to do in the case that there are no electoral reforms?
Yes. Right. Let me explain to you also what has since happened to NERA. Mm-hmm. Because we have the NERA, which is the National Electoral Reforms Agenda, which was a grouping of 13 to 14 political parties. We ended up with 14 political players in NERA. And now we had other members and colleagues who were not part of NERA, but were also pursuing agendas which were almost similar to what we are pursuing in NERA. So we had our brothers and colleagues in CORD, and we had some who were not affiliated. So what we have done is we've now all converged and come together under what we call the Zimbabwe National Electoral Reforms Agenda, called ZINERA. So under ZINERA, we have got bigger and more political parties that have come together and converged, primarily for two things. Number one, fighting for electoral reform, which is the big agenda that NERA has been fighting for. And then number two, we also want to see how political parties can converge and work together, so to bring political change. Right? So now ZINERA is like bringing more political parties together. Under NERA, we are fighting for electoral reform. So NERA still exists, but we've got a bigger platform which we have created called ZINERA, and it's also working and focusing on electoral reform. So for electoral reform, true, we've already achieved some key reforms from what we've been fighting for. For instance, the issue of the BVR, the biometric voter registration, is one of the key electoral reforms that converged the political parties which started the electoral reform fight. And with BVR on the way, So it's only the implementation now that we are focusing on. So we have made some gains, but we also know the gains are not enough. We may still have limitations in terms of how that the reforms are implemented. And should that happen, you see, we understand that electoral reform is never about a stroll in the park, or it's never about things happening so easily, Mugabe giving up and conceding, and then we have reforms. No, we understand they've said they will never reform themselves out of power. We understand what they say, and we understand that cheating is in their DNA, because this is what they've used to consolidate power. But what we have said consistently is we need to fight for electoral reform. So we're in the mood of fighting. I mean, I don't want to show that any more than what I'm already showing you. But the thing is, we're in the spirit and mood of fighting. We understand that we can never make significant gains in Zimbabwe unless we fight for it. And this is what we have. So we understand that we'll fight in the air, we'll fight in the seas, we'll fight in the oceans, we'll fight in the churches, we'll fight in the political parties. We'll just make sure that we're fighting is fight after fight. And we know that through that fighting, we are confident we'll be able to achieve sufficient reforms to participate in the 2018 elections. That's our hope.
Okay.
Sure.
And we surely hope that will be a democratic fight.
Thank you. It is. It is.
Okay. So can you kindly comment for me, sir, on the recent awarding of the BVR tender to a Chinese company?
I would say to you, would have loved Demalog from Germany to get that. Honestly, that's our preference. We would have preferred the German company to get the tender. But now that it has been awarded to the Chinese company, we still feel that at this stage, we don't want to discourage our people to feel and believe that all hope is lost because it has gone to the Chinese company. I think what the approach and attitude I have and we have as Transform Zimbabwe is that we have never wanted to say all our bags are in this one basket called BVR. That's not true. We understand that the effort to cheat is always going to be there. So we need to keep fighting and making sure that we are well placed to stop the cheating. So as far as this Chinese company is concerned, we feel that we need to monitor and make sure that the implementation is done in a manner that all stakeholders and partners are happy with. And to me, that is more important. If it happens that we make sure that the system is well implemented, the keys are properly acquired, and the system is properly set up with consensus from all players, then we can make sure that it becomes effective. But of course, once we realize they have picked the Chinese company to cheat, we equally want to make sure that we stand up and challenge that. And this is what we are there for. So we are not letting the guard low, and in fact, we are even going to be more careful now that it's a Chinese company. So I think this has given us more homework and more attention and focus on this whole thing to make sure that at the end, we have a proper implementation.
Okay.
Sure.
And is a grand coalition the solution to removing ZANU-PF from power?
A coalition, a bring together of Zimbabwe opposition political parties to fight ZANU-PF is necessary and sufficient. Is absolutely needed. There's no way we doubt at all the need for a coalition of opposition political parties to fight ZANU-PF. And I think that's not the only solution. We are talking of electoral reform. We are talking of electoral reform. We are talking of violence, which has always come in every election. So we need to stop the election violence cycle. We need to focus on all those other things. But a coalition clearly raised the platform and opportunity of the opposition to dislodge ZANU-PF. So it is a necessary and sufficient condition, but it's not the only condition that we need. It's not the only thing that we need as we approach 2018. We still need electoral reform. We still need to deal with cheating. We still need to deal with village heads who are literally frog marched to elections. They frog marched citizens to vote for ZANU-PF. So we still need to deal with all those things that always happen in our election cycle. But a major leap would be a coalition.
Coalition.
Yes.
Okay. And now that you mentioned violence, I wanted to find out how receptive was it, or what's the feedback from your recent Meet the People tour, in particular Mashonaland Central?
You see, I got very interesting feedback. It was very touchy, and I was so much moved. When we got to this homestead, one of the homesteads we visited, there were we had about 50 people converging at that house. You see, an elder lady stood up and passed on a message to me. She said, "You know what, Mr. President? The challenges we have in this country are clearly caused by ZANU-PF, as you know and I know. ZANU-PF is violent. They can come for us to attack us after this meeting. But let me say this to you. If they kill us, please come and bury us." I said to her, "You know what, ma'am? I would not wish that they kill you for attending this Transform Zimbabwe meeting. But I would wish that you protect yourself and we help you protect yourself, so that you are safe to vote in 2018 and we remove ZANU-PF from power." You could clearly see the determination of the people in Mashonaland Central as they were speaking to us. Very brave. And they are fully aware of the consequences that could come because they are attending opposition meetings.
Yes.
And that's a situation which is so tragic. We don't want people to be killed for attending Transform Zimbabwe meetings. Neither do we want people to be killed for attending MDC meetings. No, that's unacceptable. We want the people of Zimbabwe to be free to attend meetings of their choice. We want the people of Zimbabwe to be able to be free to express themselves. And this is what we are fighting for. So you clearly see the intimidation that has been in the people. But you equally see the determination that is in the people to say, despite the intimidation, we are determined and ready to change this regime because it has tormented us. And I think the determination is stronger than the intimidation that has been sent through to the people. So I think we are heading for a very exciting 2018 election, which I think as the opposition is a do or die. We need to show ourselves. We need to show our ability to stand with the people on the ground. I said to the people I addressed at that place, I said to them, "You know what? Should anything happen to you, we are there for you. We are ready to come and stand and we are ready to confront the police or whoever attacks you. We are ready to say to them, under what mandate are you doing this? And who has sent you to torment the people of Zimbabwe for attending an opposition political party meeting? That's unacceptable." Yeah.
And in those regards, again, what measures have you put in place as Transform Zimbabwe to protect and defend yourselves and your supporters from attacks from ZANU-PF thugs and militia?
Yes. That's a very important question. But you know what? I will answer it in two parts. Firstly, It is a strategy question.
Yes.
And the component of strategy itself, I will not reveal it, for obvious reasons. So I will not talk in terms of strategy. But let me also answer it in the second part and the second component in terms of what we believe as Transform Zimbabwe needs to be done. You see, there are certain layers, there are multiple layers that we have established to make sure that our people are safe.
Yes.
First and foremost, you want to make sure that there is legal protection of your people.
Yes.
So we are working with human rights organizations that will enable us to ensure legal protection of our membership. Then we also believe and understand there is safety in numbers. So we are, wherever our structures and leadership and members are, we are making sure that they are coordinated with other political, civic organizations, civic groups, political groups, fellow opposition political parties. They link up with the MDCT. They link up with other political players in their areas and communities, so that if any are attacked, they quickly are able to raise sufficient numbers because there is safety in numbers. So it's also a principle. But of course, how we have done that comes on the strategy part, which I will not discuss. But the thing is, we are very much aware of the need to protect our people, our membership. So we have been in a process of making sure that we build those support structures in communities, particularly in rural communities where there's been a lot of intimidation and violence. But we also have been building the confidence of our people, which is a very important step in protecting people. To make people aware that, the power to protect themselves is in themselves as well. Just like the power to change governments is in their hands through the ballot, even their ability to protect themselves. We are setting up, young people. We are working with young people in the various communities to make sure that people are secured and they are safe. It is very, very important. And recently, for your own information, I've been selected to head the NERA Youth Committee.
Yes.
There's NERA Youth Committee. In fact, there's NERA Youth Committee, whereby I'm responsible for mobilizing young people. And young people constitute over 60% of our voting population.
Yes.
So I'm responsible for mobilizing those across the political parties that are in Zinera. Okay. And one of the key things that we are going to discuss, I've got a meeting next week coming up. One of the key things is to say, as young people, how are we going to protect the voting population? How are we going to protect the people who have faithfully voted for the opposition and have been attacked consistently by ZANU-PF? So it's quite on the table to make sure that people are safe, and we are very much aware of the need for us to implement that program so that people can vote freely in the next election.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that you spoke of the youths, it could be a strategy question, but it depends on how you're going to answer it. And it's a well-known fact that youths are not heavily involved in elections and mainstream politics. So what strategies have you, as Transform Zimbabwe, put in place to get the youths involved and to vote for Transform Zimbabwe?
One of the, interestingly, one of the key strategies already that is there for us is, you see, the struggles young people are facing, the struggle that young people are going through is a good enough push factor. It's a push factor for them to realize that it is not well, and we need to take charge of our destiny. We need to make sure that our future is in our hands. And how do we do that? You only do that by changing a government or by taking charge of the political system in this country. And young people are very clear about that. But the thing is, how do you galvanize them to come out in their numbers? How do you excite them? Because young people are excited. And I tell you, we've got lots of exciting programs we've lined up. It's Transform Zimbabwe for young people. And also now, I'll take some of those programs to Zinera. We've also very exciting programs that we've been doing with young people, with the youth in NERA. The NERA youth engagements with communities. And now we're going to expand it to the Zinera platform. So we have come up, we equally know that young people need this. Young people are tired of, same old stuff being recycled, like our politicians and so on. And there's a lot of excitement in young people when they see younger political leaders emerging. I mean, as you look at me, you probably see that I'm not 93. I'm probably the opposite, the opposite of the 9 and 3. Yes. You see, so that is a lot exciting. That builds the confidence of young people that there is a stake in us as young people when they see more and more youthful and younger political leaders emerging and taking up responsibility for their mobilization, for their protection, and so on. It's very exciting. But of course, in terms of exactly what strategies we have come up with, we're already building and developing those strategies to report back to the plenary of Zinera, that is under Zinera, and also as Transform Zimbabwe. We have a document to engage and attract young people, which will be released by our youth department very soon. So, but already we're implementing some of those programs. We have got lots of exciting engagements with young people as Transform Zimbabwe.
All right. So tell us, Mr. Ngari, what makes Transform Zimbabwe a unique political party?
Transform Zimbabwe is a unique political party because, from what I've said, we are a values-based political party coming out of the church and coming out of also a social movement to call for justice. That's quite unique in itself. Transform Zimbabwe has mobilized through Prayer Network Zimbabwe Christians to be in the streets. We have demonstrated against the pledge, the national pledge. Twice did we do that. Transform Zimbabwe has led the anti-bond note march and demonstration. And if you look at us, we are people who have managed to combine the young and the old. There are very elderly people in Transform Zimbabwe, and there are also very youthful leaders and members in Transform Zimbabwe. You know, we've got the Christians and the non-Christians. We're a unique platform that has managed to bring in people from different walks of life. And that's quite unique. That's quite unique. And we have got very young and vibrant people who are doing things and saying things and showing a new culture of politics. So one of the key pillars that we have propelled to the nation is to show and demonstrate a new culture of politics. And we feel that we are quite unique in that we are very articulate when it comes to principles of the fear of God. I mean, we've got lots of pastors. My deputy president is a pastor, in fact, Pastor Rizen Gwenya. We have got a very unique generation of people that are coming from the churches, people who have never been involved in politics. If you look at the Transform Zimbabwe National Executive, you see that there are very few people who are career politicians, who have been engaged before. We've got young business people, young church leaders, young leaders from the civil society who have come together and now believe they can also take up key responsibilities in changing the situation in Zimbabwe easy. So that makes Transform Zimbabwe very unique. When you are able to bring all those people who have never, when you are able to excite people who have never been participating in politics, and you do it to the extent like we have done, it's quite unique. It's quite unique. It's a key platform, Transform Zimbabwe. And of course, the party is growing. You know, you see, I've been arrested over and over, right across the country. You know, I've been arrested in Gweru, I was arrested in Nyanga, Chimanimani, Cholocho, everywhere. I've appeared in court over and over. And the support I've gotten from Transform Zimbabwe leadership is amazing. Is unbelievable. When you look at that and the determination in young people who probably may have lacked experience in doing the things that we are doing, but you know, there's so much determination. You know, that reassures me that there's hope in Zimbabwe. Another generation is rising up, which surely Zimbabwe can be changed by that generation.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And what are you offering to the people come 2018?
Change is on the way. Change is coming, but that change, for it to come and be realized in Zimbabwe, it needs you and me. We need to be determined one more time. We need to fight one more time. We need to stand up as a people one more time. So what I promise to the people of Zimbabwe is that we need, you see, let us not be discouraged and depressed and say our vote will not change anything. This is exactly what the monster has fed on. This is exactly what, what regimes which don't respect, human rights and the rule of law, that's what they feed on. They feed on your discouragement. They feed on your despondence to voting. So you need to come out as the people of Zimbabwe and say, we can still do it in 2018. After all, there are new players coming on board. We've got, we've got the more experienced players we've had, and the new and emerging players. I think we can combine these forces and build a better Zimbabwe. I think there's a lot of excitement in the opposition, particularly when it comes to the issues of coalition we're talking about. There's a lot of excitement. Let us be hopeful. Let us raise our level of hope and believe that we can do it. And for us to be able to do it, we need to come together, converge, and change the situation in Zimbabwe. So please, my promise is that as your leaders, we'll stand true to our promises to stand for you. Bring in a new culture of politics, new governance system. We are true to that. We can prove ourselves to be true to that. But we would need your support and your vote. So what we want to say to the people of Zimbabwe is that you need to come out. You need to encourage people to register to vote. Under the BVR system, everybody must be re-registered. You must register again to vote. Please, 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 Zimbabweans, let us get out and register to vote. And let us make sure when the coalition system and the coalition matrix is well shaped, we will announce to you who the leaders are and who is going to be where. You need to support them. You need to support them to change the situation you have in the country. Look at the queues you are queuing in banks every day, and people are getting coins. I was told in Harare yesterday, at the banks, people have been in banks for 2-3 days, and they are getting a bunch of coins. For those who are like, they're getting $50 in coin form. So for how long can we have that situation? And clearly ZANU-PF can't solve these problems. ZANU-PF can't solve the problems they've created. They failed to do so since 2000. We need a change of government to make this Zimbabwe work. And I tell you, we are coming with a new opportunity for the people of Zimbabwe, a new cell, a new brand. We are building in Transform Zimbabwe a new brand, which you need to believe in, which you need to support. And of course, we understand our brand is also working in the context of what is happening in our nation, and we are working with other political players. So you need to support us, and we will stand with you, and we will not run away in the day of the battle. We will not run away. We are firm and strong. Be you assured, we are strong because God is with us. We also know and understand that as a nation and as a people, we have lacked an opportunity to give God a chance to rebrand and rebuild Zimbabwe. And we have come with that as Transform Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe surely will change.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Okay. And what is last words? What is your message to the nation?
Zimbabwe is ready for change. Zimbabwe is ripe for change. We have everything that it takes to change Zimbabwe. God has blessed us with mineral resources. The diamond deposits we have in this country can make us completely change Zimbabwe. The difference is between the diamonds and development, between the diamonds and Zimbabwe, there is a leadership which is monopolizing, stealing, robbing, and taking all that away. A leadership which is shameless. They steal and rob until Zimbabwe has crumbled. So, given what God has blessed us with, we've got a good climate, we've got educated people, we've got everything that it takes to develop. But between the resources that God has blessed us with and the Zimbabwe we need, there is a leadership that does not fear God. A leadership which has got no respect for human values. And that's the problem we have. So all we need to do is remove and take away that leadership. Once we replace it with a genuine God-fearing leadership, genuine principled leadership in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe will be the jewel of Africa. It is possible for us to achieve that. So I urge you, in my last words, I plead that you, the Zimbabwean people, we need to come together and make sure we install a leadership that respects you, which can make sure Zimbabwe becomes a better country. And it is possible in our lifetime. A better Zimbabwe is possible. We can deal with this once and for all in Zimbabwe in 2018, and then we are good to go. That's my last word to you.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Well, you've heard it for yourself from the Transform Zimbabwe President, Mr. Jacob Garvey. Till we meet again next time. Bye-bye.